For the past few weeks, I've spoken about the idea that my time with this project has come to an end. I've said that I often feel that this story basically has reached its peak. It's reached the point of what I can do with it as far as my skill level, the areas that I can explore. And at this point, I feel like it's time to move on to the next project. And today, I think it's really solidified where just going through this, just going through my story, just making these corrections at this point, it no longer feels like I'm doing this for the sake of, furthering the art, of improving my art, of improving my work. It feels like I'm doing it just out of sense of habit and out of just the necessity to get it done. And I've spoken before that you need to recognize when a project's done and not so much recognize when you're in a slump or when you are stuck on something, or maybe you just get that shiny new idea syndrome where you'd rather just move on to another project because it seems more fun and exciting. You have to recognize when a project is simply just dead, when there's nothing more to explore, and at this point, that's what this is. This project basically is at this point done. It's dead. Nothing more can I gain from it. I don't believe. And so ultimately, though, it doesn't necessarily matter if you have a goal that's not aligned with it. In other words, if you have a goal like, say, for example, publication, just as an example here, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter if the project's no longer, important to you, or if it's dead. You got to get this thing done because you started the project. Now you have to get it done. You have to get it done for the sake of getting some sort of payoff for it. And again, if you're trying to become successful, if you're trying to turn this into a career, you're not just, the self-validation is the only thing you're doing this for. And so at this point now, for me, it's a matter of just kind of sucking it up over the next month or two and just getting the story out there. That's going to be it. So ultimately, the story will not care. Ultimately, the product does not care whether you're, it's indifferent to your opinion of it. The story does not care how much love you get out of it or how much love you put into it at this point. When you're at this stage of the game, it is simply a matter of just getting it done, for the sake of the payoff, for the sake of the extrinsic motivation. When the intrinsic goes away, but you still have that goal, and you want to get something out of it. You don't want to just say hey, I did all right. I learned a few things here, and it's time to move on. If you want something more, you've got to focus on the extrinsic at this point. It's a very fleeting sort of motivation, but that's what you need. And that's what I'm doing this for at this point. This is purely about publication. This is purely getting the story done just for the sake of finishing something up. And so over the next few days here, I'm going to wrap up this draft. And then from there, I'll make a decision on what's going to happen next in this process. But yeah, from here on out, this is purely extrinsic. This is purely just to get it done for the sake of getting it done. These pages feel, as empty as dead skin, to be honest. There's nothing more, as I said before, nothing more to be gained from the story, nothing more that I can really learn necessarily, as far as taking away a certain skill to put into the next story, other than just doing my line edits, just refining line edits more, which is great, but at this stage of the game, I'm not even taking that much away from it. At this point, it's just a matter of just doing it out of a sense of formality, just doing a draft to be doing something. I'm doing the busy work to stay busy, because maybe there's one or two things that might at some point be the big difference, right? That one word choice that I correct could be the big difference between making an awesome sentence, which makes an awesome paragraph, which makes a really good page, which makes a really good chapter. That could be the difference, that one small thing. But on the whole, that nothing more to be gained. And at that point, if you're not seeking it, if you're not looking for something extrinsic from your projects, you need to move on. If I didn't have any kind of ambitions for the story, I'd leave it where it is. I'd leave it finished as it is, call it a finished novel, and then move on to the next one. Unfortunately, if you're trying to become published, there's a little bit more. There's a little bit more you got to do. at this point. Yeah. So over the next few days, I'm wrapping the story up. I'm just going to be going through, wrapping up this draft. I have about 50 pages left at this point, so not a whole lot. And then it's over. It's over, it's finished, and yeah, I'll see where I'm going to go next. But publication is coming soon. Like, querying is coming very, very soon for me, because the story is done. It's as good as I'm going to get it. And at this point, it's time to show the world this story. And I guess to wrap one last thing up, perhaps that is the thing that matters. Perhaps there is something to be said for losing your love, for losing that motivation. Maybe there's something to be said for having that die within you. Because if you had asked me 6 months ago, hey, you're going to query in January, I would be nervous. I would be very, very nervous. Even knowing I had all this time to get these drafts perfect, I would be nervous. I'd worry about rejection. I would worry about the rejection, the waiting time, what happens if it does get picked up, the work to get it basically fixed up and ready for publication even after that. I'd be worrying a lot about that kind of stuff. At this point, because my passion has died for this project, because it's gone at this point, it's easy. It's easy to think about querying now because it's over. It doesn't matter. It's a project that I finished. It does not matter at this point. And so for me, that's how I feel in that sense. It's a matter of just getting this done for the sake of getting it done. But there's a power in that. There's a power in that detachment. There's a power in sort of letting go of the worry that it may not get finished. At this point, if it never gets published, yes, I'll be very disappointed. But I have achieved I feel at this point, also my goal of putting out my best work, of doing the best work that I could at my current level. As someone who's been writing for 8 years now, 7, 8 years, something like that. As someone at that point, I feel like I've exhausted everything I could. I feel like I've pushed my ship as far as I can across this ocean of writing. And now it's time to move on to the next project and see if I can push a little bit further. So if I don't get anything out of it, if nothing ever comes of it, I can say at this point, just from the growth mindset, just from the growth standpoint, I've hit my goal. I've mastered that aspect of it. And so anything that happens after this, anything that comes after this, hey, that's icing on the cake. That's gravy, But it's important to remember that even though publication might be icing on the cake, your book is the cake, right? Your best work is the cake. Never forget that. Don't confuse the publication for the fact that you've put out a book that you're proud of, that a book that is of a certain quality that you're honored to show somebody. That is the cake. That is the important thing. Whatever happens after that is just the bonus.